Hey everyone, Ryan here with Ray's Latest, and today we're going to talk about Kevin Meisner being traded to the Royals. Also, Michael Johns, our former first base coach, no more, is headed to the Washington Nationals to join Butera up there. And also, we're going to talk about some possible maybe free agent signings that we could be seeing soon, kind of to bolster the back end of our starting rotation, kind of using some of that money that we got from Pete Fairbanks' option being declined, kind of see where we're going to put that money and see kind of what Neander wants to do with how he's going to use that 11 million that we just freed up. But first, we're going to jump into the Meisner trade. So Meisner was DFA'd earlier last week, and it was kind of one of those things where our outfield room is getting really, really cramped up. It's getting there's too many guys in there that there's not enough standout players in our outfield room, and there's too many guys on the 40 man that kind of don't separate themselves from the rest. So I think we're going to see a pretty big shakeup in the near future coming soon of some guys that are going to be either traded or just let go. I think I've been kind of big on this recently. I think Christopher Morel is not going to be a Ray for too much longer. I think his contract's just too big. I think he's getting about $2.4 million annually to kind of just play half the games from what I saw last season. So I think guys like him are kind of going to be hitting the road soon, and Meisner was just kind of that first piece of the puzzle to fall. And last season he hit 213 with a 345 slugging percentage and a 273 OBP, and he struck out 31.8% of the time across 217 plate appearances. So it was kind of one of those things where his defense is there. And he's a very above average defender. He had a lot of reps in center field this season. But also, from what we need out of a center fielder, we had Kiermaier for the longest time. Love Kevin to death. But his bat was never there, but it was enough to just get the job done. And Meisner doesn't have that same type of defensive ability that Kiermaier has in center, because Kiermaier is a platinum glove winner. So it's one of those things where he's not Taylor Walls, where you kind of can justify giving him the money because he's an elite defender and he should have been a platinum glove winner if he wouldn't have been on the IL at the end of the season. And I think it's one of those things where a guy like him, he has the plus defense that you like to see out of your center fielder, but the bat was never there, and it never looked like it was ever going to come around. Because even in AAA last year, he hit 210. So he hit worse in AAA than he did in the bigs, which is really impressive in my opinion. I know that it's really hard to hit at AAA level with the pitching down there. It's pretty comparable to Major League Baseball. So I think that he's kind of just going to be that first apple to fall from the tree, and I think we're going to see a lot more sent out in the near future. And also, the return from him is either going to be a player to be named later or just cash considerations. So but I think that's kind of curious to see, because a lot of the trades that we see, especially from Neander, the player to be named later is kind of like a big hit. I know Shane Baz was a player to be named later in the Chris Archer trade to Pittsburgh. So it's like you can get some good stuff out of it, in my opinion, but I don't necessarily know if that the cash now isn't more important. And I think that it kind of is, just based on the low budget that we are dealing with here. I think anything that you can get helps. And I would be curious to see what kind of pull that will get from the Royals for that. So I'll keep an eye out on that, but I am kind of curious to see kind of what a dollar value of that would be. And transitioning over to Michael Johns, he is headed to the Nats to join Butera, the new manager of the Washington Nationals. Johns was the first base coach for the Rays for the last 2 seasons. He's spent more than 2 decades in minor league baseball as a manager, coach, and coordinator. He's 50 years old. He's been in the Rays organization for his entire coaching career, which is very impressive. He was AAA manager, high A manager, rookie ball manager. Spent 9 years as a head manager in minor league baseball for the Rays. He's recently was the first base coach for the last 2 seasons, and he is headed to Washington to be the Nats bench coach. So that is kind of it's interesting to see what more of Butera might do, because if his first known hire is from the Rays staff as well, where he had also spent his young career in, I'm curious to see if there's any more apples that fall from the tree of Rays guys that kind of get up and get a little promotion to go join him up there in Washington. So I'm kind of curious to see what he keeps doing with that. And I mean, all power to Michael Johns. That's a big upgrade to become a bench coach on a big league roster. That's really good for him. I'm proud of him for that. He's dedicated his entire life to baseball, and he deserves nothing more than to be able to get this opportunity, especially on a big league roster. Happy for him. I think it's going to be great. Curious to see kind of how the Rays go in the direction of who they're going to get at first base next, if they're going to keep it within or if they're going to kind of reach out, maybe get another hitting coach. I know Timmons is just rehired last week as well. So I am interested to see how they approach this and if they kind of just upgrade from within. But we'll keep an eye on that and see where they go from there. So we're going to jump into some possible free agent signings that I would like the Rays to kind of – personally, I think that the front end of our starting rotation is very good. You have Pepio, McClanahan, Rasmussen, and those are guys that you're pretty confident of what you're going to get every single time out there. I know McClanahan's had some issues control-wise where he'll run his pitch counts up pretty quickly, but the stuff's always there and the strikeout numbers are always there, and he's had a low ERA and kind of low batting average against every time or every healthy season he's had so far. Just the interesting part with him is just the walk numbers. I feel like they've been higher than you would like, obviously, but he's an elite ace in Major League Baseball. Any team in the league would want him, and I think with tallying him with him and then Rasmussen and Pepio behind is a great 1-2-3 punch that one of the best you're gonna get in baseball, in my opinion. But I think it's kind of where the Rays kind of fall off a little bit is that 4 to 5 range, and I would love to see kind of an older guy, kind of like when we got Charlie Morton a couple years ago. He's at the end of his career. He's still got some great innings left in him. He was very good for us, but he kind of just brings that veteran presence that, especially I feel like McClanahan, not necessarily as much now, but a couple years ago when Morton was here, he needed. And I think that kind of bringing in a guy like that to help out. See, I've got a couple names down here that kind of in that price range of around where Fairbanks' salary would have been. A couple names that kind of stick out right away that are a little bit older but have had serious good innings and good years in the big leagues. Patrick Corbin, John Gray, Kyle Hendricks, Tyler Anderson, Martin Perez, Tyler Mahle. It's like those are some guys that have not necessarily been at the top of their game the past couple seasons. I think that's why their market value is down. I think Patrick Corbin's number is about $5.5-6 million per season. And I think that's kind of where these older guys' contracts are not going to be as expensive, obviously, and you're going to be able to get the veteran presence in the locker room. And I would love to kind of see Neander go after a couple of these guys and just see kind of where they stand with becoming a Ray. And I also feel like just being able to bolster that back end of the bullpen with inning eaters. And I think that that's necessarily kind of the way that we need to go about this. And it's not to sign the big guy it's going to be an elite fifth starter. That would be great if they turn into that, obviously. But just being able to get those guys that can go out and on a game 5, go eat you 6 innings or 7 innings. And I think it would be great to be able to turn over that rotation from day 5 back to McClanahan on day 1. So I would love to see like a Patrick Corbin or a John Gray. I think that would be a fantastic pickup. You guys let me know what you guys think. Any possible free agent signings that you would like to see, especially from starting pitching wise. I think that there's plenty of names out there this year. This is a big free agency cycle. There's a lot of big names. So I'm kind of curious to see where we go with this, especially on the back end of the bullpen. But you guys let me know what you guys think, and you guys have a good one.